Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name's Paul Reed and I'm a professional photographer. I've got a whole bunch of photographs to show you in order to inspire you today. So these are going to be from a photographer called Jim Mcdermott. Now this guy is an incredible street portrait photographer and I'm going to be showing you some of those photographs, talking a little bit about him. Also, I'm going to talk a little bit about street portrait and what really kind of makes a street portrait compelling, what makes it a master shot. So when I go out doing street photography, I'm always looking out for characters, people who I'm drawn to, that I really want to take their portraits. And actually, when I'm doing street photography, a lot of my street photography is character based anyway, but sometimes I see somebody and I might take a candid photograph of them and then I just think, no, I need more than that. I need to really kind of get to know this person a little bit and take their portrait, and in those cases I'll always do a street portrait. After you've plucked the courage up to actually ask somebody to do their street portrait, it's really important to spend some time with them. Spend some time taking those photographs. We're all guilty of just rushing those portraits because we're so polite, we just don't want to take up their time, but we really need to be taking time to make sure that we get the great shot that we wanted. Now I've said this before, but I'm going to just say it again just so that you keep this in your mind. There's three elements to a street portrait. First element is subject, second is lighting, and the third is the background. Now if you don't get the first element right of a street portrait, which is subject, then you could have the most perfect lighting in the world, you could have the best background in the world, and it just won't matter. It could be technically an amazing photograph, but if that subject isn't compelling, isn't somebody that you just can't look away from, that you just feel pulled in to looking at that person, then the lighting and the background aren't going to matter. So you must get the right subject. It must be somebody that you engage with, somebody that you're drawn to, and that is all important. Lighting is important, and for me it's the eyes that need to be illuminated. That's certainly for those closer portraits that I take. Now, if the eyes are in darkness, if you've got those panda eyes, if they're dark, then it's just so much less compelling to look at that portrait, to be drawn into kind of almost, that you can't look away. It's somebody who you just can't stop looking at, and the eyes, the windows to the soul and all that sort of thing. The eyes are so important to be well lit. I do love to have catch lights in the eyes, and I just think that part of it is really, really important. That's not so much the case with environmental portraits that are more full length portraits. You could have them looking a different way, or if it's not all about the face, about them, about their eyes, then you can kind of get away with the eyes not being as well lit. The background isn't all important, but it is important. It needs to not be distracting from the subject. There needs to be separation between the subject and the background, or maybe the background actually leads to the subject. And then certainly with environmental portraits such as full-length portraits, then the background becomes much more important then, because you're seeing a lot more of it. It's going to be much more distracting. It needs to complement the subject. I'm saying these things again because I really want you to drum these things into your mind whenever you start to do a street portrait. Whenever you are even thinking about asking somebody for a street portrait, if you look at them and you're just asking them for the sake of asking somebody, then you've got off on the wrong foot straight away. You need to be drawn to that person because there's something in you that just makes you really want to take their portrait. I've got some workshops coming up for street photography and street portraits. I always do street portraits on my street photography workshops. So I'm going to put some dates up here. So these dates, these are for London. And I just love to see you there because I just love that interaction with like-minded people that really have got that ambition to be better at street photography and better at street portraits. I've also got some dates in Glasgow and Manchester, so come along to those. The other one I've got, which is next week, is Edinburgh as well. That's the Edinburgh Festival, so there's going to be lots of characters there as well. So Edinburgh is going to be a really good one. That one's for street portraits mainly, so that's going to be a fantastic one. The best thing that you can do is just practice, and do that on the people that you know, the people that you love, and you'll be able to spend a lot more time with them in order to really hone those skills. I took some portraits again this week, but again, I was itching to take some portraits, and I was just at home and I took these portraits.
Ready?
Are you ready?
Right, where are we going?
Just get another angle of that. I took those photographs on film because I have so much more fun whenever I shoot things on film, and I just love the process. I used the Leica M6 and an M mount TT Artisan's 1.4 lens to 50mm lens, and I really love using that lens. Really well built, and just really enjoy using it, enjoy the look of it, wide open. It's kind of got a dreamy look to it. So, and then if you're wondering how I video the footage for those, so I was sent this anamorphic lens for an iPhone. Now, achieving kind of that cinematic look to videos and even to photos as well, one of the things that a lot of videographers use is an anamorphic lens, and I've got an anamorphic lens for one of my cameras, and it's this, I never know how you pronounce this, but is it Sirui? And so I've got an anamorphic lens, but the thing is, for all of my footage for my videos, I just don't want to really use a proper camera as such. I just want to use an iPhone. So I was looking for an anamorphic lens adapter for an iPhone, and this one from Sandmark is really good. And you get this case, and what you do is then this just screws onto the case, and then you get that really kind of wide angle video, but you can use it for photography as well, and I'm interested to kind of to try that out as well. And you get all of those things that you get from an anamorphic lens. Obviously you get that kind of you've got to de-squeeze it afterwards, but it has a certain look to it, and then of course you get that really wide view, which is great on an iPhone because it's already quite a wide angle lens anyway, so it's not quite having a Hasselblad X-Pan, but it's that sort of thing where you're getting this really kind of panoramic view, and it also has those elements that anamorphic lenses are known for as well, which is that lens flare and everything. So yeah, I'll leave a link in the description for that. This case is really great as well, but I'll leave a link in the description for that if anybody wants, to get hold of those. There is other different things you can get from Sandmark. Like there's an ND filter as well that you can kind of just clip on, and that's for like if you want to do like slow shutter speeds and things. But that's how I did the video footage anyway. If you want to know how I develop my films, because I've got kind of a specific way that I develop films to get the look that I want out of them. If you want to know how I develop my films, I'm going to put a video on the members website. You can sign up for free to the members website. Basically, you just go over to my normal website. I'll put a link in the description. You just scroll to the bottom, sign up for free. There's podcasts on there. There's tutorial videos like how I edit my photographs, and then I'm just going to put this one on as well where I show how I actually develop my film. So it's free, you might as well. I'm now going to show you a bunch of those photographs as promised by Jim Mcdermott, and these are just some amazing street portraits, and it just shows you how professional and how wonderful street portraits can be whenever you get all of those elements right. So I'm going to show you those now, and then we'll have a little chat about them. How amazing are those photographs? And you'll see I put colour ones in there because you see when Jim uses colour, he uses colour with purpose, and he shoots black and white with purpose. Some of those were shot on film, some of them were digital. Just an amazing street photographer and somebody that we can all take inspiration from. This is what Jim had to say about street portraits during our podcast.
I have to get good at crossing the threshold and reaching out to somebody who's a stranger. Then I have to make an emotional connection. Then I have to get them on my side, so we're collaborating. Then I have to think about what's in my frame, and and all of those kind of things are just like levels of almost like if you're a black belt, you're just learning like this when you first start, and after a while you're doing all the crazy black belt stuff, and the only way you're going to get to that level of competence is if you practice all the time, and look at your work and say, oh, I look at my work from 2 years ago and I see a tremendous amount of trash in my frames, and now I'm a much more reductive photographer. Like I'm everything that I look at in my frame, I'm like, there's got to be a reason why it's there. Yeah. And I'll get somebody in a really high contrast situation, like in super bright sunlight, and I'll shoot wide open. I'll have the SL go up to 40,000 ISO, so that we're in a street in New York City with cars and a million people, but I'll put them somewhere bright and shoot the lens wide open with a super high shutter speed. So it literally is like we're in a studio because everything's black.
You can watch the full podcast or listen to the full podcast. Again, that's on my members website, so just sign up for that for free and you can watch the full podcast of that. It's only available to members. Jim's got a book coming out called Tokyo Was Beautiful, and from what I've seen of this book, it's going to be absolutely incredible. I'm definitely going to pre-order mine. It's available for pre-order on the 26th of July. Give Jim a follow. I'm going to put just a link in the description to that. I think he's called The Trickness on Instagram, but it's Jim Mcdermott, and if you give him a follow and then just keep an eye out for that book, because that book is going to be amazing. I hope this video has been inspirational to you. I hope that you can see, you know, how good street portraits can be. You know, they don't have to just look like snapshots. And lastly, I've got an online course coming out, and that's coming out at the end of August. That's going to be £50. But what I'm going to do a pre-order of that. So if you go over to, I'll put a link in the description for that as well. But if you pre-order that online course, then you'll get that with £20 off. So you're going to get that online course for £30. And that's going to cover monochrome photography, composition, lighting, lots of kind of things which I feel are rules that you should stick to whenever you're doing street photography, and to do with monochrome photography. And that's going to be a fantastic course that's going to really push you forward. This channel is all about learning, and that's what the members page is all about. It's all about just getting you better at photography. It's for those people that really want to improve their photography and just get better and better. And I'm just so pleased to be doing all this. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. I really appreciate your support. I appreciate those people who, you know, donate sometimes on the members page. You know, that is really appreciated, and that keeps that members page going, because I'm just putting more and more time into that, because I can, because people are just putting those little donations in now and again, which really just allows me to put that time in. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll see you next time.